Hello, I'm Toycat, and what do coffee shops, Uber, and Minecraft Bedrock have in common? Well, let me explain, but first I need to complain because Bedrock has this stupid toggle for enable graphics mode switching, but it keeps turning itself off. I mean, it shouldn't even exist, but if it's going to, the default is wrong. Also, the default controller binds are wrong and have been forever. The default FOV is 60 for some reason, and it will always default itself to that when Minecraft loses the settings, and also the crossplay realm that I use for hosting this very world keeps on going down, as well as it double charged me for 3 years now, losing me a ridiculous amount of money. At some point you have to say, if you're surrounded by crazy people, maybe you're the problem and not all of them. Maybe if you consistently have problems with everyone and everything around you, then you are the problem, and so should I stop playing Bedrock? Is it Bedrock that's wrong? Is it me that's wrong for playing it? Well, today I want to answer that question because I'm going to be building with just a simple vision, not a complete idea on how, and this is also exactly how I believe in Bedrock. Also, we're going to be, my vague idea is I want to use strip wood for this, and I've actually prepared some of that to make this work because I have a big idea that relates to time, and this also is exactly how I, although I should build it a bit further back if there's a big pond here, because I want to deal with that later. Anyway, I have a big idea that relates to time that I want to work on, and I should probably go to sleep while we're talking about it, but first I need to talk about the same reason that I play Bedrock is the reason that you finish your first Minecraft house and not your first mega project, or even your current mega project, because it's what is called the goal gradient effect. The goal gradient effect is something that I think shapes our everyday life in ways that we don't necessarily even always realize. You see, I think that it's so much easier to make progress towards something when you're already part of the way there. This is a piece of psychology that is used by coffee shop reward stamps. Have you ever noticed when you go to them, they always give you the first one or the first two for free? This is kind of weird, right? Because it effectively means that instead of needing 12 coffees to get a free one, you get 2 coffees for free, and so actually it's 10 coffees to get one free, but that was the entire plan from the beginning. You see, I think that one of the, or it's not even a think, it is a known part of why this is implemented. The goal gradient effect basically posits that the closer we are to an objective, the more likely we are to take actions towards achieving it. This is amazing when it comes to the fact that, yes, people actually buy more coffee if they believe that they are getting closer to a free coffee, even though they are the same distance away, but it also reflects, the way that, for example, Uber absolutely destroyed the way that taxis work. Have you ever tried to book a taxi pre-Uber? I feel like this is one of those things that everyone in my generation had to do, but I didn't until, they were teenagers and Uber came around. But, the way that it worked was you called up a taxi company and you said, hey, I would like a taxi, and then you just trusted that it would get there. This was shocking to me, because one time I needed to go to Stansted Airport, and, the way, this is a major airport, but I didn't realize till the night before that there was no public transport because it was a Sunday. Separate annoying issue, but still, there was no public transport, and I needed to go to the airport. I had booked a flight. It was, I think it was like a £20 flight to Helsinki. I needed to be there, and so the only way was going to be a taxi, and it was midnight. What was I going to do? I booked a taxi for 4 a.m. or something like that. And so what ended up happening was at 2 a.m. I got a call in the middle of the night saying, oh yeah, you booked a taxi, but you didn't book it far enough in advance. Our website let you book it. Maybe we need to change that. But no, you can't be booking a taxi for 2 hours time. That's silly. You need to have booked days in advance. And I was like, oh, I had no idea, no way of knowing that. And so what Uber did, the simple solution, was to put their little map on screen. This is kind of, if you've ever seen it, there's like a little car moving towards you, showing you that progress is being made, or even before you book, it shows that there are a bunch of cars in your area. This simple little technique shows you that, yes, we do have drivers. We're not going to say, whoa, what are you doing trying to book a taxi? And simply put, even though a lot of people hate Uber and how it functions, the same is true for the delivery function, even though a lot of people really hate Uber, they still say, but yeah, it's very convenient when I go to a new city not to have to be ripped off by the taxis or anything else like that. People like Uber, even if they hate Uber, and that's because of the goal gradient effect. It helps you, they make the ideal behavior more achievable, and they move you closer towards it by letting you know that it's all, you're almost there, basically, which is a surprisingly, important psychological thing for humans. We like to know that we're not super far away from progress, and this is how I feel about Minecraft builds too. I think that this, if you're curious, I have a big plan to build a big time-related building. I won't spoil what it is yet, yet, but I want to back up something from the real world into Minecraft, as weird as that is. And so I figured, what's the most time-related building that exists? Well, like a train station, right? And so here is my current little, vibe of a train station. I looked up St. Pancras International, and I saw that part of the building has this nice little curve. If I was building St. Pancras, it would keep going on that way for a while. But instead of building St. Pancras identically and committing to a giant project that exhausts me and makes me go, oh dear God, what am I actually doing here? Instead, I'm just going to start building right here, like this. And then once I've built this little curve here for one story, then I will continue to add and expand it as I go. That way, instead of having this half-built monstrosity that I'm horrified by and terrified of, instead I'll have a build that makes me go, yeah, at some point I can come back round and finish this. But for now, I'll have a building that looks like the curve of St. Pancras if it were a one-story building and only about 5 blocks tall. Silly as though that is to say, also we're gonna have to build a floor for this, which I'm prepared for. I have some stone, and I'm probably also gonna put some torches down to make sure nothing spawns beneath that stone. So, we can't put torches down because if we put stone down, we're gonna have to we'll have to work this one out. I need to bring lanterns with me, really, or something like that. So for now, we'll cover up most of this, but not all of this. And for now, also, I'm going to move myself closer towards my objective by simply splitting my objective up. This is one of the simplest, productivity hacks in the world, but because of the fact that we always work better when we're closer towards achieving something, towards finishing something, be it booking a taxi, or be it the very nature of, a coffee stamp card, because we end up making progress towards behavior, or we end up moving towards things that we know are closer, it means that there's this weird thing where the easiest way to achieve something big is to split it into lots of small tasks. If you tell yourself when you wake up in the morning, yeah, all I have to do today is just, write a PhD thesis. I don't know how hard that is, to be honest with you, but based on people who do talk about them a lot, it sounds very hard to them. But all you have to do is write yourself a PhD thesis today. You'll procrastinate and you'll be like, yeah, the first step, once I start, and you'll procrastinate, and then 5 hours have passed and you'll have done nothing. And at least if you're like me, you'll feel like, oh dear God, I think I wasted an entire day, but tomorrow I'll do the entire thing. And so instead of doing that, as inevitably I think is a natural path for humans, instead of going like that, instead tell yourself, I'm just going to write the first paragraph. The first paragraph, I'm going to get that done, and then I'll have a little break. I'll reward myself with something nice, and then I'll move on to the second task, and so on and so forth. This is, deliberately splitting up your goal into smaller ones, and it's what I'm doing with this build right here. I do want to have a grand train station, as silly as it is to have a train station out here. Although I could connect it to my underground metro, and not that far from where that connects in. So I want to build myself a grand train station. Not that it makes sense for train purposes, but it will be something for something else. It requires a lot of data to be input, a lot of building to be built, even an entire interior and everything like that. But rather than convincing myself that all of those things are so important and absolutely need to be done right now, or the building is worthless, instead, why don't I simply work on the part that I want to do, which is going to be the main hall here. This is, I guess, the entrance to the main hall, and then later we can expand it to include where it's going to include my massive time thing. This is the goal gradient effect inactive. I'm simplifying, I'm getting myself closer to the point of being done with something so that I can enjoy the in-progress part of it. Also, I think we'll just go diagonally from here, and then after a bit, we'll come out a couple blocks, and then a couple more blocks, and then after that, we'll call this the back of the building. Easy peasy. Now we just need to have more holes for windows and more little corner blocks, but you can see that we've got the bones of something coming in here. Again, if you look at just this tiny little one piece of this giant grand structure that took people a ridiculous amount of time to build in the real world, we are slightly closer, or maybe we're not actually. Anyway, but I think that if we look at Minecraft Bedrock, I would say it's a similar thing to this build, or to any of the other things in the real world, where the most important thing to look at is not, as easy as it can be to feel like sometimes, that the most important thing that you have is... This has to be wrong. Let me go back over there. I want to have a lot of too wide windows. I don't know what we'll use for the window yet. Again, that's a that's a future me problem. For right now, I'd be happy to have a one-story building that just has empty windows. I think air blocks make for the most beautiful windows, and so that's why we're making our windows out of those. And yeah, 2 blocks gap, 2 blocks gap. This is working great. But you know what else is working great? Also, there we go. Perfect. Nice. We have got a bunch of these windows, and now we just have to go up to the top because I think we probably want these to be at least 4 blocks tall. And then we'll go in a couple of blocks to have the top of the window be complete. Wonderful. Anyway, speaking of wonderful, I think that Minecraft Bedrock is very much in a similar circumstance where if you look at the scale of work that needed to be done in 2018. Indeed, if you don't know, I have been playing Minecraft console literally since the very beginning. For as long as it has been possible to call yourself a Minecraft console player, I have been playing Minecraft console. That's not a weird flex or anything. It's literally just a fact. And I think that one of the weird things that has resulted from that is that when the console community split, I really felt it. It was kind of a split in three. When Bedrock came out and forcibly replaced console long before it was the correct time to do so, in my humble opinion, when the Bedrock version came out, the people were basically split into 3 separate directions. One was to say, okay, like Bedrock is gonna get better, we'll work with it. The second was to say, well, we'll just stick with console. If Bedrock is not at the level of console yet, we'll keep playing console and then maybe at some point switch later. And then the third position was, screw this. I like Minecraft enough. It's where I play a lot of my game hours anyway. Or maybe even if you don't, I'll just wait till I get a PC and then I'll switch over to there and play Java. This is a very understandable position, I think, but also one that leads to... Okay, so this is now definitely 2 blocks, but then I have a problem here that I don't have over there. I don't know how that can be true. Oh, it's because I'm missing a 1 block wide thing. So we need to go back in now here and move these blocks 1 and then build another block over here. And then we can call this texture or something later. But if we just build an extra block on all of these, then it'll allow me to have windows that actually make sense. But yeah, Minecraft console had this huge split in the player base, basically between 3 separate disparate options. And at the time, I kind of took the opinion of like, oh, I'll wait on console and wait to see. And then once a couple of updates rolled out, I was like, okay, I've tested Bedrock, but let's make the full-on maneuver. I believe episode 350 for the Let's Players when I did that. And honestly, over that time, there has been some crazy stuff that has happened. Bedrock has gotten a lot better in some ways, and Bedrock has had what I can only describe as controversies and problems so bizarre that they can literally only happen on a game that developers have not play tested and don't have an intention of doing so. It sounds rude to say, but I think it's the only way to describe, issues where you would take random full damage. If you fell on slabs is one of the classic ones, but like you could take random full damage and lose everything, or a world corruption issue. Minecraft, if you played on an Xbox, sometimes the cloud saves would be incomplete and your world would just be gone. And it's like, oh, what can I do about that? And the answer is like, well, you should have made a backup. What sort of game is like, yep, we messed up our save file functions and I guess it's your problem, haha, I'm not dealing with this. There are so many insane issues from the early days of Bedrock, and so as a result, it's fair to say that, like, yes, things have gotten better right now, and but some people look at right now and say, but yeah, even if this is better, first of all, shocking that you can get this much better and still be this bad, but second of all, at some point, don't you have to say you respect yourself, Twigcat? At some point, don't you have to say that this just isn't worth it anymore? And I think that there's a really interesting point in there, that yes, Minecraft Bedrock has grown a bunch, and in some ways it's grown negatively and positively, but at the same time, I would say there has been far more positive than negative. Even some of the biggest issues, I think, if we can point to Bedrock in 2018 and compare it to now, there have been things that we in the community have been complaining about that have actually gotten better. Super flat, it's just flat world, to be clear, but there is now 8 different options, and it's allowed for me to do my void flat world. As silly as a reason as that says, like, yeah, they listened to us when we said we want a different super flat, and although the console super flat is still better, now super flat is much more fun on Bedrock. Even if you can put some of that down to the Wandering Trader, they still implemented it, and it still is a fun little feature. Also, the menu design, everyone hated the menu design, and Mojang put their fingers in their ears and went, I can't hear you, therefore the menu is great. But actually, over the last little time, we've seen that get better. Specifically, this browse add-ons button, specifically the settings button, now is taking precedence over the browse add-ons button. This is, they replaced the buttons at one point. They decided to make a little browse add-ons button. But the point is that they have, they have changed things. And although for every case we talk about today, I'm sure you can bring up a really easy example of how, like, oh yeah, this seems like it's good, but actually, let me tell you how it's really, really bad. And I think you'd be entirely fair to to make those points. But at the same time, I think, like, no, Minecraft Bedrock has, even Bedrock bugs have gone from the point where they're expected and where no one cares to where when there is a big enough bug, it is brought to the attention of everyone. Even major Java YouTubers. When we spoke about Minecraft Bedrock being broken all the way back in September of last year, 121.120 if I'm not mistaken, when we spoke about that version being broken, it became major news for Java YouTubers too, people who had no intention of ever touching Bedrock on their personal worlds, because Bedrock has become more of a phenomenon. And although, hopefully, although there are still so many issues with it, I think that looking at Bedrock right now and saying that this is the moment to quit would be, excuse me if it sounds like I'm sunk cost fallacying, because, it's very easy to say, well, I put this much effort in, so why would I stop now? But I think that despite that seemingly being true, also I think this is just going to be a big wall. I don't know yet. I'm going to make it just a big old box so we can continue this here. But I think that it's really easy to say that, I think it's easy for anyone in life to be like, yeah, I put so much effort into this already, why not put more in? And yeah, there's some kind of truth to that, but I think especially in the case of Minecraft Bedrock, the hardest parts of the effort have now been done. The hardest parts of, like, oh yeah, getting developers to realize that having a game that is so shockingly buggy that you will randomly die or do this, now those issues are far, far, far less frequent. The server client desync issues, it's been very quiet, but it's been better. When it comes to things like these super flats, and when it comes to things like the experiences built into the game, it's all getting a little bit better, I think. I think that when it comes to every part of even something simple like the way the coordinates are displayed and the days played counter, these are things that you're hardcore as well. These are things that we were asking for forever, I think it's fair to say. And, forever it seemed like, well, it's just not coming. Mojang just doesn't care. But in the long run, seemingly they do. I think that Bedrock is definitely run in an entirely different system to that of Java. It seems as though the way that Bedrock is made is like, oh yeah, well, if something's important, then we'll get round to it in a year's time. Whereas on Java, it's either so important that it gets done now, in this week, or it's so unimportant that it never gets done. I think that we are seeing the dividends of this super long-term thinking, and I think that as a result, if we use the goal gradient effect not just to describe my Minecraft build, but also to describe exactly where we're at as a Bedrock version of the game, I think we're finally turning the corner on being at this point where, yeah, the majority of players that I see on various online forums and places like that actually are now Bedrock players. And so if you have someone in your life that plays Bedrock, rather than telling them like, oh yeah, now you should switch to Java, I think instead it's better to say like, oh yeah, there is a fun little community of people. I could obviously reference this channel, but specifically even like the Minecraft survival subreddit, or just the Minecraft subreddit in general. There are so many places now where Bedrock is not the weird version of the game that you're shunned for using, but it's now almost the default for many people, which I actually find to be incredibly charming and incredibly, endearing that we've finally gone to the part of the game. I feel like I was meant to have a third one of these. Oh no, I do have a third one of these. So let's put this over here now, and let's make some pale oak stairs to go on these little arches, make them look a little bit less round. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? But speaking of beautiful, I think it's beautiful to see just how much we've grown as a community, and that even though it's easy to say like, yes, this one particular niche bug is the reason I'm giving up on everything forever, actually, I think the broader response as a community is that Minecraft is, this is my impression at least, the broader response from the community is that Bedrock has its issues, but it is the version that is available on all platforms. It is the version which is incredibly low in its requirements, and so either allows you to use vibrant visuals, as it is right now, or that allows you to have super high render distances and high simulation distances, I mean, high is actually a wrong way to put that. 12 chunks is not particularly high. I'm gonna retract that comment right now, if I may. But I would say that with regards to like, should anyone switch over to Java? My kind of base response is like, yeah, for me at least, even as someone who has the full capability to switch, which does not describe most of the Bedrock audience, to be clear. I think that like Java isn't going to work for this world. The file size is ridiculous on Bedrock. It's a 1.1 gigabyte. Well, in fact, do you want to see right this second as I record this? I can't show you my Realm stories, but I should be able to show you that it's a 1.1 gigabyte world size. I figured it might show me more precisely than that. That was a very round number and not precise, but as a result, I don't think Java works for this world. And also, there's a bit of a sunk cost now. Having been playing Bedrock for 8 years, that's longer than I played console, weirdly enough. But having been playing Bedrock for all these years, at this point there is the slight sunk cost. I'll admit it is just a fallacy of all of this time that I've learned. But also now learning Java would require learning all of these weird little things. So, for example, when you sprint and fly in creative, you stop immediately on the Bedrock version of the game, but there's a weird like kind of slowdown on the Java one. On Bedrock, there's this little ragdoll which lets you know what's happening with your character because you can't see while you're in first person. Are you sprinting? You know, if you're in lava or floating or not, you can't see what's happening. Sure, you can just press F5 and that's real easy, or you can press the inner controller stick. But there are all sorts of handy things that I know and like about Bedrock. Even just having the days played counter. Without having to do any extra modifications, I can turn it off and I can turn it on with a simple setting in my menu. In fact, I've made reference to this before, but I think I am going to turn it off for a little bit here. I think that, because we're so far between milestones, I think I just want to play some Minecraft and turn it on in a little bit and surprise myself how far we've come, which is fun and relevant because we're talking about time and how we're getting closer to things. I think that Minecraft Bedrock is just about to turn the curve of being at the point where it is far better, and I don't think that that means we should stop critiquing it. I kind of think the opposite, actually. I think that when you look at the big movements that have happened in this last while, it seems to be because of what has come from the community, and so giving my part to that, if there is any part, and I'm not just delusional, but giving my part to that and helping out from my perspective is maybe the most important thing I can do. Maybe, like at this point, Vibrant Visuals is coming to Java, so they're just about to re-engineer the code. It's important to point out that Vibrant Visuals is great, but still has major flaws that maybe they haven't noticed if they haven't been playing this version of the game very much. I think that I am kind of taking this as the belief that after 7.5 hard years, the best time to quit would have been 5 years ago, 7 years ago, and the second best time to quit is never. Yeah, I'll stick with that. And so, as long as I'm playing Minecraft, which is where I'm currently feeling, I think I'll be playing the Bedrock version, at least for my long-term survival world, and most of my silly challenges too, if I'm being honest. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. I now have the first floor of the train station. It took me 20 minutes, but now I'm going to try and add a second floor. Well, actually, I still need to work on the floor. Right now, it's a bunch of grass. I think we need to replace all of this with some stone, and then we'll work on the second floor, and then maybe on a little extension, and then we can build our big time structure, which is something I think it'd be really fun for a members video to talk about how long I work in a given time. But, speaking of the gradient, of the goal gradient effect, you want to be close to finish with this video, and so I'll allow you to be there right now. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, because I'll see you next time. Goodbye.